Hey guys, today we're going to dive into some money little hacks, little tricks that I use when I get paid to organize my money and pay my bills, invest, spend money on where I want what I enjoy, and just tips that I use that you can apply to the way that you manage your paychecks and your money. So first off, welcome back to Jesse Invests. My name is Jesse. Here on the channel we talk about investing, saving, growing your money, and just financial advice all around in general. Go ahead and hit that sub button down below, the like button down below. It helps me out a lot. And let's get into it. So here are 5 or 6 concepts that I use with my money that could be helpful in making sure that you take control of your money and that it doesn't control you. So step 1, one of the main things that I do is split the bills, separate accounts. This is a concept for if you are married or if you are in a serious relationship with someone like me and my wife are actually in. We are married now, going on about 2 years. And since the get-go, we've done something controversial, which is we have separate bank accounts. We never combine our bank accounts. We never got a joint account. We do everything separately with our income. And we found that it just works really well for us. A lot of people are out here saying that joint income and joint accounts are the only way to manage your money. It keeps things simple, but we tried separate accounts and it's worked really well. So what this means is that we split the bills down the middle. So our mortgage payment or our rent payment, we each pay 50% of it. When time to pay for groceries, we each pay 50% of it. We cut all of our bills down the middle so that neither of us feel the burden and responsibility of having to pay all the bills. It feels like there's more fairness involved, there's more responsibility taken by both parties, and it helps eliminate a lot of arguments for us. I feel that if we were to have a joint account, you get into, oh, why have you been going to Target so much, babe? Or, I keep paying for all these bills, you're not paying for the bills. There's a lot of room for overanalyzing the partner's spending. If you can split the bills straight down the middle or really close to whatever's fair for you, it could be 50-50, or if one person makes significantly more income, it could be like a 75-25, whatever works for you both. Just communicate that, figure that out, and organize the money and take responsibility for the required purchases in a way that works for you guys. So yeah, splitting the bills, separate accounts. That is the main thing that we do. And the way we do this is we track our money on a spreadsheet. We send each other our half of whatever payment before the due date. Okay, number 2, mirror delegation of checks. For lack of a better term, we don't have a bills check and then a free money check. Every check is the same and it's easy to organize that way. Both checks of the month pay for half the bills coming up. I've seen a lot of people will do where they get a paycheck and this is their bills check, where they put all their money towards their bills and they don't really have any money on the check left to spend. The next check will be a fun check where their bills are all paid off after check 1. They now have money to spend. That could work for some people, but that doesn't work for us. We like to keep all bills consistent to make organization a little easier. All paychecks consistent to make organizing for bills and whatnot easier. So, for example, instead of having a $1,000 paycheck that goes all to utilities and then the next check of the month 2 weeks later is $1,000 to fun, it's $500 for fun, $500 for bills every time we get paid. We don't have to pay attention to pay cycles that way. It stays consistent that way. We can know what to expect. And yeah, that's just something that works for us. So that's something that you could try too. Number 3 is we record every transaction we do on a sheet. I would say this is the core concept that we use for our paychecks. This is the bread and bones. Everything else revolves around this. If we don't record how we're spending our money, then we don't know where it's going, if we'll have enough for our bills, if we have enough for a trip, things like that. So we record every transaction we do on a sheet. My wife and I. Again, these tips will work for couples or just if you're by yourself. Yeah. But for what we do with recording every transaction, what I mean by that is every time that I swipe my card to buy something, whether it be a debit card or it can be a credit card that you pay off on time, we record every transaction. So every time I swipe my card, I make sure that I go into my Documents app on my phone, go onto the sheet. I have a Google Sheets app. Go into Google Sheets or Excel, whatever works for you. Go into your little Excel file and change how much you have in a certain fund. So if I swipe my card at Texas Roadhouse for $30, I open my phone, hit the app, hit the spreadsheet, go to the fund that says restaurants, and I might have $75 in that fund. Take out the $25 I just spent at Texas Roadhouse. It now says I have $50 left for restaurants until the next paycheck. And then that sounds like a lot of steps, but you can really optimize that. What I just described, opening up your phone, you don't need a computer, you don't need to write it down. Grab your phone, which you have on you already, click on that app on your home screen. You'll click on that sheet that when you're updating it this much should be your number one app, your number one document. That whole process takes 30 seconds. I can do it in less than 30 seconds. So it's really not a big siphon on my day. It's not as frustratingly annoying and tedious as it sounds. But that doesn't work for my wife. She likes to live more in the moment. She doesn't like to always think about her spending and doesn't have to feel like every swipe she has to change something in her account. So what she does is she updates her spreadsheet tracking her expenses every few days by just looking over her bank statement history. That works for her. For me, I don't like that stress. I like having a live updated sheet so I can always know in a 30-second check or less how much money I have for each category in my life. That's just the way I like to operate. But I know other people aren't that way. So if it works for you to record your receipts or your bank statement and just look that over and take it out of the funds every few days or whatever works for you, do that. Whatever is going to make you do it. But some form of tracking your expenses is super important. And the way that I do it is what's called like the envelope method. Before electronics, it was saving your receipts and then taking money out of each envelope section of your bank account. So when you got paid, let's say you got paid $1,000, you put $20 into the home payment envelope, $20 into the date fund envelope, $25 into the spending money envelope, $20 into the utilities envelope, $20 into the car note or car payment envelope. And then when you get those bills, you take them out of the envelope. That's essentially what we're doing, but a digital version. We get it paid, we divide it into all these subcategories, and then when it comes time to swipe the card, we open up the file and remove the money we spent from that appropriate subcategory. And I'll show you what I mean here in a little bit in this video. I'll show you the spreadsheet that I've actually built to make this work really well and have available for free for you guys for a limited time. Anyways, let's keep going. So, number 4 is we don't do a typical budget. We split our checks into lots of mini accounts on a spreadsheet, which is what I was alluding to a minute ago. Instead of, getting paid, the bills come, we pay off all, some people get paid, they pay off all their bills, the rest of their money's for fun. Some people, they wait till the due date, then they pay that, hoping they have it, and they don't really track stuff. Some people like to build a budget where they say, in this next month, here's the income I'm expecting, here's the expenses I'm expecting. At the end of the month, they say, let's see how we did. That kind of typical budget doesn't work for my wife and I, so we just do the envelope method, splitting up into the different subcategories. Okay, the next thing I can think of that we do is if we have extra cash left over after we split up our paychecks into all these different accounts, we have more money than expected for saving, investing, things like that. We're like, what do we do with this extra money? A lot of people will pay down debt, like with extra payments. They'll make an extra payment on their house, they'll make an extra payment on their car. That's super exciting to have the money to do that. But when we have that, we don't do an extra payment right away. Unless the interest rate is really high. If the interest rate is not very high, like let's say twice as high as the average insurance rate right now, interest rate right now. So right now the interest rate is around 6-7% or so. I have some debt at about 10%. I'm not making extra payments on that debt because it's not double. If I have 13% or higher, twice the interest rate, if I have a rate of twice the common interest rate, then I will think, okay, that's really high. I'll start making an extra payment so I don't get robbed here. But if I have loans underneath with a good interest rate, underneath the average or at the average interest rate, I'm not making extra payments on them. Because it's exciting to see your debt going down, and it feels like it can be freeing, but you want to make sure that every other area of your life couldn't use that money more. What I mean by that is if I have $1,000 in my emergency fund, so I'm prepared to take on a $1,000 emergency, that's fantastic. Only a small percentage of Americans have an emergency fund. If I have that fund and I have $200 extra, I can make an extra payment on my car that has 3 years left, or I could take that and make that emergency fund $1,200 instead of $1,000. I am way better off making it $1,200. Why is that? Because that $1,000 emergency fund, sure, that's really good, but how much are your expenses in a 2-week span, a 1-month span, 3-month span? My expenses are somewhere around $2,800, $2,500 for a month. So even though I have $1,000 in emergency fund, that is only keeping me paid and my debts from canceling out. I'm only able to afford my lifestyle for 2 weeks if I lost my job or something were to happen to me with my health physically, or I couldn't work, something like that. So with that in consideration, if I have any extra money, I'm adding it to that emergency fund because that's important to me. I want to make sure that I can be padded out longer. So that being said, it might not look like padding your emergency fund to you. It might be that you have really been wanting to go on a trip for a while that you don't feel like you can afford, yet you know it's coming up in 6 months. You feel like you're not quite there yet on saving for it. You're worried that when it comes, you may have to spend money you don't have. When you have that $200 extra, I would highly suggest you put that towards that thing. Put that towards that trip. Put that towards your emergency fund. Put that towards some sort of rainy day fund. It's something that you can save, because often it's not worth paying that debt down early if that money can sit and be invested for 8 to 10% returns a year, or put in a high yield savings account to help pad you for an emergency. Cash is king. That's ultimately the summary for that, for concept number 5 there. Cash is king. If you have $1,000 in an emergency fund, you can hit with a $2,000 cost. What are you going to do? You're either going to put it on a loan that's extremely high interest rate, like on a credit card or something, and then you probably would have wished that instead of paying down your car, you had put that towards helping that emergency fund. Or let's say you don't put it on a credit card, you drain your 401k to pay for it, like that happened to me directly. Then what are you going to do? You're going to now be down your retirement fund that is penalized. You get heavily penalized on the money you had to pull out of that, when you could have avoided that had you had the money sitting in a rainy day fund. So just when you have some extra, if I could summarize that into one sentence: extra cash, let it be extra. Store it in your bank, store it in your wallet. Let extra cash be extra. Don't spend it right away. Even if it's paying down debt, putting an extra payment on your house, an extra payment on your car, that's still paying. That's still purchasing something. The money still leaves your control. You're now back to zero. So hold on to that a little more and use it to either invest to make you more money, or just hang on to it rather than release the money, if that makes sense. So guys, those are 5 paycheck hacks that I do, that we do, me and my wife, as young 20s, just married, as a young 20s, just married couple, stuff we do. But this is also all concepts that I utilized when I was a bachelor. Before I met my wife, I did nothing differently between these 5 concepts. The only thing, I didn't split the bills because I had nobody to split them with, right? So this works if you're a single guy, single lady, or you are in a relationship that is serious. And these are just 5 little tricks that I do to feel like I have more control over my money. So before I end this video, I will show you the template that I have for free in the link in my description. Hit that link for the link tree. It'll send you to a Discord. You can go to my Discord for free. And you have access to all the personal finance and investing templates that I have for spreadsheets. You don't have to make the spreadsheet yourself. All that hard work is done for you by myself. It's completely free. Once I hit 25 members in that group chat, the Discord group, I will be closing it though for a monetized format. But for right now, I just want to fill it up with people and get access to my free content because I want to provide a lot of great value to you guys. So here is that sheet that I was just mentioning about just a second ago. Okay guys, here is my sheet, the only budget here. So the idea is that when you get paid, you start in this payday tab.